let's continue the Earl Thomas conversation, Chris, from the perspective of future options. We mentioned on the way out on PFT Live that Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys coach, speaking to reporters today, said that he's very confident with his roster. Here's the quote, courtesy of Clarence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. "We're very confident in where we are as far as the 80-man roster. As far as any prospect that's available, those are more conversations for Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Will McClay. As far as looking at that situation, I have nothing really to report." So the door's not shut.
Right.
But McCarthy's saying, hey, I'm fine with who I have. If you read between the lines, you can maybe see McCarthy saying probably not something we're looking for. But again, it's above his pay grade literally to make those decisions.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And we know they have flirted with Earl Thomas in the past before. Earl Thomas, being a Texas Longhorn. I mean, the two biggest entities in that state are the Texas Longhorn and the Dallas Cowboys. So I understand him wanting to go there and all that. But, as we talked about on the show, one, this is a Cowboy team that's, got a lot of things to be happy about on the roster. Do we want to bring in, an older star Hall of Fame type player that's past his prime that certainly seems to be somewhat of an annoyance in the last two locker rooms he was in? So do you want to deal with that? And then the big thing, too, is, Chris Richard's not there anymore, or they're not running that Seattle defense. Mike Nolan's there. So I don't know if they fancy the type of player that he is for that scheme and the fit and all that like they used to in the old days. So it'll be interesting. I really am intrigued to see who gets involved in this Earl Thomas conversation.
Yeah, and the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn says no, and that's where we start pushing back on this idea that because somebody played with somebody, worked with somebody, that means they're going to want to work together again. Well, no, there's a chance that Dan Quinn looks at it and says, I've done my time with Earl Thomas. And if Earl Thomas isn't the player that he was several years ago, it's like the Antonio Brown dynamic. You'll deal with the personality as long as the player is off the charts great.
Exactly.
When the player starts to dip, we don't want to deal with the person. And for Dan Quinn to come out today and say affirmatively no Earl Thomas in Atlanta, they run that defense for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That's another red flag to do your homework, talk to your friends, tap your network, do your research, and find out exactly what went down with Earl Thomas in Seattle and Baltimore before you go out on a limb.
Well, exactly right. And again, like Earl Thomas, amazing player, Hall of Famer. I mean, a part of a special defense. We talked about all of that. But the simple reality of the situation is right now, in this point of his career, he's not as good as Ricardo Allen or Keanu O'Neal. He can't start over them. They're better than him. There's going to be a number of teams where I think, the normal, casual, everyday fan's going to look at it and go, why wouldn't we want Earl Thomas? Why wouldn't we want Earl Thomas? Because he's still a big name and flashing lights, and he's a household name. But the reality to me, and again, I'm Ron Jaworski and I watched the film and all that crap. We're talking about a middle of the pack, and I mean not like on the edge of like, he's just in the middle of the pack, just on the edge of the cream of the crop. No, he is severely entrenched in the middle of the pack, maybe in the back end of the middle of the pack where he is at this point of his career. So that's where I just think it's going to be hard, too, between the attitude, the play, what kind of price is he going to demand, all of those things I think are going to make teams question it a little bit.
And lest you feel bad for Earl Thomas, he got $20 million from the Ravens for 1 year with the team, and he has at least an effort, a claim, a possibility of another $10 million, depending upon how the inevitable grievance unfolds between the Ravens and the National Football League Players Association.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.